Have you ever been told you'd never make it? That you were a mistake, a disappointment, that no matter what you did, you'd never be good enough? This is the story of a boy named Noah Rivera, a kid who grew up in a house full of silence, broken glass, and words that cut deeper than fists. His own father never smiled at him, never believed in him, only shouted one thing: "You're nothing. You'll always be nothing." But here's the twist. Noah didn't just survive. He ran. With no money, no support, and no plan, only fire in his chest and one mission in his head: I'll rise. Not for them, but despite them. What happens when that same boy builds a billion-dollar empire? What happens when the man who broke him shows up again, years later, broken himself? This isn't just a success story. It's a story about pain, grit, silence, and one letter that changed everything. Stick around. You don't want to miss this. And if stories like this hit you right in the gut, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because your support means the world to us. The lights of Times Square burned like 1,000 suns, but Noah Rivera didn't blink. He stood tall beneath a screen flashing his name, genius behind the future of AI, as a crowd roared and camera shutters clicked like gunfire. A smile touched his lips. Clean suit, perfect posture, everything polished. But his eyes? They were searching. Then he saw him. Near the edge of the crowd, behind the steel security gate, slumped against the concrete, an old man, wrapped in dirt and shaking under a torn army coat. His hair was wild, his face pale, his eyes hollow. They locked eyes. Time cracked. And suddenly, he was 17 again. The rain came sideways that night. Cold, punishing like the house he called home. Blood mixed with mud on Noah's shirt. His fists clenched. His lips swollen. His breathing uneven. Behind him, the porch light flickered. "You think that makes you tough?" His father's voice was sharp, slurred. "You think just 'cause you can throw a punch, you're a man now?" Noah didn't answer. He couldn't. His jaw barely moved. "You're nothing," the man spat. "You were born a mistake. Just like your mother." Lightning cracked. Noah flinched. "Say it," the man demanded, stepping forward, drunk and dangerous. "Say it, boy. Say you ain't worth **T. Noah took one step back. Then another. He turned. Ran. No bag. No cash. No goodbye. Just a bleeding mouth, wet sneakers, and a voice in his head screaming, "Go, go, go." The bus station smelled like piss and burnt coffee. The floors were sticky. The bench was cold. But Noah? He was safe. Sort of. He curled into his hoodie, hugging himself, eyes scanning every shadow. He hadn't eaten in 2 days. His phone was dead. His future? Blank. But for the first time in forever, no one was yelling. He tried to sleep. Didn't work. His body ached. His chest felt heavy. His face still stung from the hit. Still, a quiet voice inside whispered, "You're out now." That's something. Next morning, he found a mop job at a diner. No ID, no papers. Just a tired manager who shrugged and said, "If you show up, you get $10 a day." So he showed up. Every damn day. Scrubbing toilets, sweeping gum, clearing vomit, smiling at customers who never saw him. At night, he returned to the bus station. Sometimes, a man in a wheelchair slept nearby. Old. Quiet. Always watching. One night, he left something on the bench beside Noah. A small, worn-out book. Python for Beginners. Noah stared at it like it was alien. Then he opened it. 1 page turned into 2. Then 10. The hunger in his belly was real. But this fed something deeper. 2 months in, his shoes were stolen while he slept. He walked barefoot to work, blisters bleeding. No complaints. The manager asked, "What happened?" Noah just said, "Lost him," and kept scrubbing. By now, he spent his breaks at the library, learning to code on dusty public computers. He watched tutorials with cracked headphones, took notes on napkins. Failed. A lot. Cursed. but never quit. He had no one to call, no one to tell, no one cheering. Still, he whispered to himself at night, one day I'll rise. Not for them. Because of them. Back in Times Square, the crowd chanted his name.
Noah. Noah.
Noah. He forced a smile, raised a hand, did the wave. But his eyes kept drifting back to the man by the gate. The man now coughing, shaking, holding a cardboard sign that read, "Please help. Just hungry." The cameras didn't notice. The fans didn't look. But Noah saw everything.
His past. His wounds.
His scars. All in one man. The man who once told him, "You'll always be nothing." And yet now, here he was, begging. Noah didn't speak. Not yet. He just looked and remembered everything. Noah woke up with gum stuck to his cheek. A kid had been screaming half the night. Someone else had thrown up in the corner. A security guard walked past him twice but didn't say a word. The cold had crept into his bones like rust. But he was still breathing. He sat up, pulled his hoodie tighter and looked down. His shoes were gone.
Stolen. Just like that.
The only pair he had left vanished while he slept on a public bench that reeked of bleach and loneliness. Noah stood up slowly, feet raw, skin peeling. He stared at the empty space where his sneakers had been. For a moment he felt like crying. Then he laughed. A short, bitter laugh that came from the part of him too tired to care. "Figures," he muttered. And then he walked. The sidewalks sliced his soles like broken glass. Each step left a smear of red on the pavement. New Yorkers didn't look down. No one stopped him. No one cared. He walked 5 blocks to the diner, opened the back door quietly, slipped inside. The manager glanced at his feet. "You lose a bet or something?" Noah forced a smile.
Nah.
"Shoes got jacked." "You're bleeding." "I'll mop it up." The manager stared at him for a second, then nodded. "Clock in." And just like that, Noah got to work. No complaints. No excuses. Just bleach, sweat, and the sound of dishes crashing behind the kitchen wall. That night, he didn't cry. He just sat on his usual bench in the bus station, feet bandaged with torn napkins from the diner. He opened the programming book again, page 27. Something about loops. It made no sense, but he kept reading. A few pages later, he looked up and saw the man again. Same spot. Old. Quiet. Wrapped in layers of rags. His eyes sharp under the grime. Noah had seen him there every night. Never spoke. Never moved. Just observed. Tonight, the man nodded once. Noah hesitated, then nodded back. That was the first human connection he'd had in days. Every morning, Noah showed up. Barefoot or not. In pain or not. He mopped.
Swept.
Took out trash. Worked like a ghost, seen but never really seen. On breaks, he'd head to the library 2 blocks away. Sit at the slowest computer. Plug in the same stolen headphones. Watch YouTube tutorials on Python and Java. He didn't understand most of it, but he replayed them.
Paused.
Took notes. Bit by bit, the noise in his head got quieter. There was something about code. It didn't scream, didn't hit, didn't lie. It either worked or it didn't. There was peace in that. One night, he found a peanut butter sandwich next to his bench, wrapped in foil. Still warm. Noah looked around. No one near. He picked it up, took a bite.
Cried.
Not because of the sandwich, but because anyone had seen him enough to care. Weeks passed. His feet healed. Sort of. He got new shoes from a church bin. Too big, but they worked. The manager gave him extra hours. Still no real praise. But one night, as Noah scrubbed the bathroom floor, the man said, "You work like you got something to prove." Noah didn't look up. "I do." That was it. No one asked what. No one asked why. At the library, he built his first simple app. A calculator. It barely worked. He showed it to a librarian. She smiled politely. "That's cool." But he knew it wasn't. It was clunky, buggy, ugly. Still, it was his. He stared at the screen for a long time that night, watching the numbers flicker. One button press at a time, his world was changing. Back at the bus station, the old man spoke for the first time. "You ever gonna sleep, kid?" Noah looked up, startled. "I'm trying to learn something." The man nodded.
Good.
"Don't waste the pain." Noah blinked. "What? You got pain. I see it. Use it. Don't let it rot you." Then the man closed his eyes and said nothing else. That night, Noah didn't read the book. He just stared at the ceiling and thought about the word rot. Somewhere between floor cleaner and terminal loops, something hardened inside him. Not bitterness. Not hate. Just focus. A promise whispered in silence.
I'll rise.
Not for them, but despite them. And no matter how loud the world screamed, "You don't belong." Noah would build his own damn place. Brick by broken brick. Noah hadn't eaten in 36 hours when he pitched his first AI idea. The investor wore a $5,000 suit and didn't look up from his phone the entire time. Noah's slides were clunky. His voice cracked. His hoodie still smelled like fryer grease from the diner. When he finished, the man looked at him once, expression flat. "You're wasting my time." That was it. Noah left the room without saying a word. His stomach growled louder than the rejection. Every night, he coded like it was life support. He'd sit at the public library until closing, sometimes begging the janitor for a few extra minutes. When that failed, he'd scribble notes under a streetlight outside.
His laptop?
He didn't have one. He saved up tips from the diner for 8 months to buy a refurbished Chromebook off Craigslist. And even then, he still borrowed Wi-Fi from a fast food joint across the street. Rain or snow, he was there. One hoodie, one dream. At 20, his app was ready. A learning AI tool designed for low-income students. Simple.
Light. Fast.
He called it MindSpark. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. He emailed 47 investors. Got 45 rejections. 2 didn't reply. 1 replied with, "Meet me
Tomorrow.
noon." Noah showed up early. Wore his cleanest shirt. Tried to look confident. The guy, mid-30s, t-shirt, glasses. Wasn't what he expected. "You built this alone?" the man asked. "Yeah." "Where'd you go to school?" "Didn't." "Team?" "Just me." The guy stared for a long time. "Okay, show me the code." Noah hesitated. He didn't trust anyone, but he was also starving and out of options. So he opened his laptop. 5 minutes later, the man leaned back. This could be something. Noah's heart pounded. "I'm not selling it," he said quietly. "I want to build it. I just need a shot." The man grinned. "Good answer." The first few weeks were hell. Noah worked 3 jobs to pay rent on a shoebox apartment with no heat. At night, he coded until his fingers went numb.
Bugs.
Crashes. Corrupted files. Lost work. He wanted to scream.
Cry. Quit.
But then he'd remember his dad's voice. "You'll always be nothing." And just like that, he kept going. 6 months in, the app got noticed. A local blog ran a story. Homeless teen builds education tool from scratch. It went viral. Suddenly, emails flooded in. Offers. Mentions. Interviews. But Noah ignored most of them. He wasn't done. He rebuilt the app from the ground up.
Cleaner.
Stronger. Smarter. He started sleeping in his office space, an old storage room the investor lent him rent-free. He showered at a gym nearby. Ate ramen 3 times a day. And every morning, before writing a single line of code, he'd whisper, "Don't get soft. Not yet." Then one night it happened. He checked his inbox before sleeping. Subject: acquisition interest, $200,000 offer. He stared at the screen for 5 straight minutes. Didn't breathe. Didn't blink. 200 grand. That was more than he'd made in his entire life. He could disappear. Start over. Live safe. But his fingers didn't move. He closed the laptop.
Didn't reply.
Didn't celebrate. Just whispered, "We start now." Because for Noah, money wasn't the goal. Freedom was. And that required something bigger. He didn't want to be rich. He wanted to be untouchable. The box smelled like dust and old lies. Noah sat cross-legged on the floor of the records room, surrounded by court files and folders that hadn't seen daylight in over a decade. His heart beat slow, heavy, one page after another.
Dates.
Signatures. Seals. None of them mattered until he saw her name. Elena Rivera. His mother. He froze. The file was thin, just 4 sheets stapled at the corner. But they hit harder than any punch his father ever threw. Police report. Domestic disturbance. Filed. November 12, 2007. Filed again January. And again in March. Same complaint. Husband violent. Son at risk. No one listening. Noah's throat tightened. He had spent years thinking she walked out. Left him. Abandoned him with a monster. That's what his father always said. She didn't love you, boy. She ran. Just like a coward. But this proved otherwise. She didn't run. She tried to save him. And nobody listened. Noah sat alone that night in his office. No lights. Just the blue glow of his laptop and a single unopened file on the screen. Confidential Hospital Archive, Rivera Elena. He found it through a private investigator. Paid in cash. No questions asked. His hand hovered over the trackpad. Then he clicked. Admittance. May 9th, 2008. Burn unit. 83% coverage. Unresponsive. Death recorded. May 10th, 3:17 a.m. Noah stopped breathing. She died trying to escape. There was a fire. No further details. Just silence. He blinked hard. A single tear slid down his cheek before he could stop it. Everything he believed about her, everything he was told, was a lie. She didn't abandon him. She died protecting him. Noah didn't talk for 3 days. Not to his team. Not to his investor. Not to the camera crews outside his office. He came in early. Left late. Didn't eat. The pain didn't paralyze him. It sharpened him. Every line of code he wrote after that felt like a scream. Every click of the keyboard was a prayer. Every version of MindSpark became faster. Smarter. Cleaner. He wasn't just building tech now. He was building something his mother would have been proud of. Something no one could take from him. Something strong enough to outlive the silence. Later that week, he returned to the records room. The clerk looked up. You again? Yeah, Noah said, his voice flat. One more file. Name? Carlos Rivera. His father. It was thinner than his mother's file. A few unpaid parking tickets.
2 DUIs.
And a dismissed restraining order from her. The ink was faded. The stamp barely visible. Request denied. Not enough evidence. Noah shut the file hard. He sat there for a long time. Not moving. Not crying. Just breathing. Because now he knew. He wasn't broken because of his past. He was still standing in spite of it. And no matter how much success he had, that boy inside him was still searching for the woman who used to hum lullabies over bruises. He'd never find her again. But maybe he could become the kind of man she would have smiled at. The kind she fought to protect. The room smelled like dust, burnt coffee, and stale ambition. Noah stood in the middle of an empty warehouse in Brooklyn. Cracked windows, no heating, flickering lights. It wasn't much, but it was his. This was where he'd build the company. No signs. No staff. Just him, a second-hand desk, and a whiteboard covered in scribbles no one else would understand. Noah smiled. For the first time in his life, he wasn't running anymore. He was building. Everyone thought he was insane. No degree. No connections? No one's gonna back you, man. Investors laughed. Engineers ignored his emails. Job applicants ghosted him once they saw the office. But Noah didn't need applause. Or validation. He needed discipline. And he had it in spades. He'd learned how to code hungry. How to think while freezing. How to survive with nothing. Now that he had something, even just a roof and a beat-up server, he was dangerous. He called the company Glassmind, named after 2 things. His mother's shattered photo frame. And his own mind, clear, fragile, but always reflecting. He worked 20 hours a day. slept 4.
Repeat.
No weekends.
No social life.
No breaks. He ate instant noodles straight from the pot and used duct tape to fix his cracked mouse. And every night before passing out on the office floor, he whispered, "Keep going. Don't forget who you're doing this for." The first product failed. Buggy AI assistant. Glitchy. Crashed often. Got dragged online. Embarrassing. Wannabe tech bro. Overhyped junk. Noah didn't flinch. He took the feedback, tore the code apart, and rebuilt it line by line. People thought the insults would break him. They didn't realize he'd already been broken. This was nothing. Month 8. A tech blogger stumbled on his beta AI, Glassmind Echo. It wasn't flashy, but it worked. It learned fast, understood patterns, predicted actions before users even finished typing. The blogger's post blew up. Who is Noah Rivera? Is this the next big thing in adaptive AI? Noah didn't answer. He wasn't interested in fame. He was busy rewriting the engine. 3 weeks later, his phone rang. Unknown number. A woman's voice said, "I'm from Atlas Tech. We saw your work. We'd like to offer you 10 million. Noah paused. 10 million. That number used to feel like a fantasy. A joke. He stared at the crack in the ceiling. Thought of the nights at the bus station. His mother's sealed death file. His father's voice. Then he said flat, "No." Silence. "Excuse me? I'm not here to sell. I'm here to build." Then he hung up. His hands were shaking, but not from fear. From clarity. He didn't want their money. He wanted his name on the skyline. Things moved fast after that. VC firms started knocking. This time, Noah picked them. He hired a team, small, hungry, brilliant. People like him. Misfits with fire in their eyes. He made sure they knew. This isn't about fast money. This is about legacy. They worked in shifts, slept in the office, ate together, failed together. Noah didn't lead with ego. He led with scars. They followed him because they saw it, the pain behind the genius. The boy who survived. Year 2. Glassmind went viral. Echo was everywhere: schools, hospitals, logistics companies. The AI wasn't just smart, it adapted. It evolved. Big names came calling. Netflix,
Tesla.
even the Pentagon. Noah gave them all the same energy, calm, clear, locked in. We don't chase hype. We solve real problems. Or we walk. Every time he said it, the kid inside him stood taller. The kid who once heard, "You'll always be nothing," was now rewriting the rules. But Noah never moved out of the warehouse. Even after they upgraded the office. Even after the revenue crossed 7 figures. Even after his name hit the front page of TechCrunch.
He still slept on a rollout mat.
Still wrote code at 2 a.m. Still whispered to himself before bed. Not yet. Not until it's real. Because deep down he knew, you can escape your past. But the war inside you? You either win it every day, or it wins you. The first time someone asked for a selfie, Noah froze. It happened outside a coffee shop. Some college kid with a hoodie and wide eyes ran up, phone in hand. "Are you Noah Rivera?" Noah blinked. "Yeah," he said slowly.
Dude, you changed my life.
"Your TED Talk?"
Man.
"I dropped out of business school and started building my own app. You made me believe I could." The kid snapped the photo, thanked him again, then ran off like he'd just met a rock star. Noah stood there, holding his coffee, unsure what to do with the feeling in his chest. It wasn't pride. It was something else. Something heavier. The TED Talk had almost never happened. He'd rewritten the script 3 times. The organizer wanted the story of the boy who came from nothing. The drama. The rise. The pain. Noah gave them most of it. Not all. He talked about sleeping at bus stations. About learning to code without a degree. About building Glassmind from a warehouse floor. But he never mentioned his father. Never said what happened at 17. Never told the crowd that his mom died trying to save him. Those parts weren't for public consumption. Some stories weren't meant to be shared. They were meant to fuel. Still, the talk went viral. Pain is a Resource by Noah Rivera. 10 million views in a week. LinkedIn blew up. Podcasts wanted him. Forbes called him the next generation's Elon. Noah kept moving. He showed up,
Spoke.
smiled, but something inside stayed locked. Because every time someone said inspiring, he heard his father's voice again. You're nothing. It didn't matter how many headlines came out, how many magazine covers, how many handshakes. There was still a 17-year-old in him, standing barefoot in the rain, hoping someone would say, I see you. One night, after a long panel interview, Noah sat alone in his penthouse office. City lights glowing below, a whiskey glass untouched beside him. He stared out the window for a while, then whispered, Are you proud now, Ma? Silence. Sometimes he swore he could feel her in the room, in the quiet, in the breath between lines of code. He closed his eyes and pictured her face. Not how she died, but how she used to smile, even with bruises. That smile was the reason he never gave up. That memory was louder than any stage applause. He hired a therapist. Tried twice. Quit both times. Couldn't get past the first 10 minutes. Every time they asked, Tell me about your childhood. His throat locked up. Not because he was afraid. Because he didn't want to explain it. He didn't want pity, or analysis, or healing through charts. He just wanted it to mean something. So instead of therapy, he poured it all into version 3.0 of Glassmind. The code was brutal.
Fast.
Sharp. It predicted behavior in milliseconds. Read emotional context. Adapted like muscle memory. Investors said it felt like magic. No one knew better. It was pain.
Polished.
Packaged. Monetized. A journalist once asked him, Why name it Glassmind? He answered without blinking. Because it sees everything, even when people try to hide. They thought it was a clever marketing line. It wasn't. It was a mirror. One night, he got an anonymous letter. No return address. Just 4 words on the paper. I was wrong.
Dad.
He read it once. Then again. Then set it on fire in his kitchen sink. No emotion. No closure. Because 4 words didn't erase 17 years of silence, fists, and shattered plates. It didn't bring his mother back. Didn't clean the blood off the walls. Some apologies come too late. And some people don't deserve access to your healing. But even then, Noah couldn't stop wondering. Where was he now? What did he want? Why now? He tried to brush it off. Tried to bury it. But something told him that part of his story wasn't finished yet. It started with a whisper in the hallway. There's a guy outside the building been here every morning. Noah didn't think much of it. Until it happened again. Different voice. Same sentence. Homeless guy. Just sits there. Doesn't ask for money. Says he knows you. Noah stopped mid-step. Says he knows me? Yeah, the assistant said. Keeps saying he needs to see you. But he won't give his name. Noah's stomach tightened. Show me. The security office smelled like coffee and cheap cologne. The guard fast-forwarded through surveillance footage. Then paused.
There.
That's him. Noah leaned in. The screen showed a man in layers of torn clothing, hunched by the front gate, head down, legs tucked to his chest like a child. Same spot every day. Rain or shine. Noah couldn't see the face clearly. Zoom in. The guard did. Noah went cold. The beard was longer. Hair gray. Skin thinner. But the eyes. He knew those eyes. Carlos Rivera. His father. The same man who once slammed doors in his face, who left him bleeding on a kitchen floor, now sat outside Noah's tower. Broken. Shaking. Invisible. Noah leaned back in his chair. Said nothing for a full minute. Do nothing, he finally said. Sir? Don't engage.
Don't let him in.
Don't move him. Just let him sit. Then he walked out. The next morning, Noah arrived early. He stood behind the tinted glass of the lobby, watching the sidewalk. There he was. Same spot. Same position.
Different man.
No sign. No cup. No words. Just a presence. a ghost with skin and bones. Noah watched for 10 minutes, heart heavy and hollow. Then he turned and walked to the elevator. Said nothing to anyone all day. Day 3. Noah walked past him. No bodyguards. No fanfare. Just him, in a black coat and sunglasses. The old man looked up. Their eyes met. The man didn't blink. "Son," he whispered. Noah didn't stop. Didn't flinch. Just kept walking. Not out of cruelty, but because every word would have been a scream. That night, he stood in front of his penthouse mirror, took off his coat slowly,
Loosened his tie.
and whispered, "Why now?" He thought of the letter. I was wrong.
Dad.
Thought of the lies, the bruises, the silence. And for the first time in years, he didn't feel rage. He felt tired. Because closure doesn't always come with revenge. Sometimes, it just shows up uninvited, in rags, and asks for your face again. And the real question becomes, what are you going to do now? Day 6. Noah stopped walking. The street was loud. Horns, sirens, the buzz of morning chaos. But in his world, everything went silent. He stood in front of the man who used to terrify him. Carlos Rivera didn't look up at first. His hands trembled inside torn gloves. His eyes stared at the concrete like it held answers. Noah reached into his coat pocket, pulled out an envelope. No return address. No name. Just a thick, folded piece of paper sealed shut. He held it out. Carlos slowly looked up.
Confused.
Hesitant. Noah didn't speak. Just extended his arm. The man stared at the envelope, then at Noah. "What is it?" he asked, voice cracked and barely there. Noah didn't blink. "Something you buried." Carlos hesitated, took the envelope with shaking hands. Noah turned, walked away. No words, no emotion, no drama, just the weight of 2 decades settling between them. 10 minutes later, Carlos opened the letter. His eyes scanned the first line. Elena Rivera. Confidential medical report. Date of death, May 10th, 2008. Cause, 3rd-degree burns from domestic house fire. Filed along with abuse reports from 2007 to 2008. Attached was a short handwritten note in ink.
She didn't leave me.
She died protecting me. You told me she ran. You lied. Carlos froze. Tears welled in his eyes. The paper trembled. He clutched his chest, like the truth was a bullet tearing through him in slow motion. Then the sobs came.
Ugly. Raw.
Animal. He dropped to his knees on the sidewalk, gripping the letter with both hands. God, he whispered. No. Pedestrians passed without looking. A few slowed, confused. One woman pulled her child closer. But no one stopped. Because the world doesn't pause for a broken man on a dirty sidewalk, especially not when the pain is self-inflicted. From his office window, Noah watched. He saw the moment his father collapsed. Saw the letter in his hands. Saw the truth hit him like a wave. Noah felt no joy. No vindication. Just stillness. He'd carried that truth alone for years. And now, the man who caused it finally felt the weight. But it didn't bring peace. Only silence. Because justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it just looks like a man breaking apart with no one left to blame. Later that night, Noah sat at his desk, staring at the envelope's twin copy. Same file. Same note. He hadn't cried when he wrote it. But now, he felt something cracking open inside. Not anger. Not grief. Just release. A slow, aching exhale of a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding for years.
Because the truth was out now.
It wasn't revenge. It wasn't closure. It was something quieter. Like turning off a TV that had been buzzing in the background your whole life. And, hearing silence for the first time, he was back the next day. Same spot. Same clothes. The letter folded neatly on his lap, like it was too sacred to crumple. When Noah stepped out of the building, Carlos stood up, slow, stiff, like his bones were cracking under the weight of regret. Their eyes met again. This time, Carlos spoke first. Son, The word hit like a rock tossed into still water. Noah didn't flinch. Carlos's voice broke.
Please.
Just listen. Noah stepped forward, calm, collected. But inside, something shook. Don't call me that, he said, voice low. You don't get to. Carlos swallowed hard, his eyes glassy. I was drunk. I was angry. I didn't know how to be a father. You knew how to hit. Noah snapped, eyes narrowing. You knew how to lie. You knew how to make her bleed, and tell me it was her fault. Carlos froze. People passed on the sidewalk. None of them stopped. This wasn't a scene. It was two ghosts confronting the grave between them. She loved you, Carlos whispered. She died because of you, Noah said. Silence. Carlos looked down at his shoes. Torn, soaked. Same as Noah's had once been. I didn't know how to fix it, he said. Noah's eyes burned. She begged for help, he said quietly.
She tried.
And you slammed the door in her face. You told me she left. I thought it was better that way. Noah laughed, bitter. For you, maybe. Carlos didn't argue, didn't defend, just said, I'm sorry. 2 words. 17 years too late. Noah looked at him. Really looked. He saw the sickness in his eyes, the hollow cheeks, the way his hands trembled not just from cold, but from something deeper, something terminal. Why now? Noah asked. Carlos looked up. I got nothing left, he said. No home, no health, no family. You had all of that once, Noah said. And you destroyed it. Carlos nodded slowly. I know. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Noah exhaled. You think I built all this to prove you wrong? Carlos didn't answer. Noah stepped closer. I didn't.
He paused.
I built it so that kid you tried to destroy would never have to crawl back to you. Carlos's lip quivered. Noah took one last look. Not with anger, not with pity, just truth. You don't get to call me son, he said, voice steady. You gave up that right the day she died. Then he turned and walked away, not with vengeance, but with freedom. The wind was sharp on the rooftop, but Noah didn't feel it. He stood at the edge of the glass railing, high above the city he once walked barefoot. New York pulsed below him. Horns, sirens, lights.
Noise.
Life. But up here, everything was quiet. He closed his eyes. And for the first time in years, there was no echo of his father's voice. No, you're nothing. No, you'll never be good enough. Just silence. Finally, he thought about the bench at the bus station, where he once read code by streetlight, where he slept with one eye open, where someone stole his shoes and no one cared. He thought about the sandwich, left by a stranger. The first act of kindness he remembered. It wasn't the sandwich that saved him. It was the idea that someone saw him, that he wasn't invisible, that maybe, just maybe, he mattered. He remembered the night he found out about his mother, the hospital report, the death certificate, the abuse reports buried by red tape and indifference. He remembered the rage, the guilt, the heartbreak, but also the clarity, the fire that came after, the decision to build something no one could ever take from him again. Not money, not fame, but power over his own story. He thought about his father, that broken man on the sidewalk, shivering, alone, holding a truth that finally hurt more than the lie. Noah didn't hate him anymore. He didn't need to. Hate took energy. And Noah had bigger things to carry. Dreams, teams, purpose. He didn't walk away to punish his father. He walked away to protect himself. Because healing doesn't always look like hugs or forgiveness. Sometimes it looks like setting down the pain and deciding it doesn't get to live in your house anymore. Behind him, his assistant's voice came through the intercom. Board meeting starts in 10. He didn't move, didn't answer. He kept his eyes on the skyline.
Bright, wide,
endless. He whispered something under his breath.
A name.
Elena. Then smiled. Not the public smile. Not the PR grin. A real one. The kind he hadn't worn since he was a child. He didn't need applause anymore. He didn't need headlines. Because the boy who once scrubbed floors just to survive was now a man who stood tall, not in spite of his past, but because he refused to be defined by it. And that boy, he wasn't broken. He was just becoming. Not every battle leaves bruises on the skin. Some of the deepest scars are invisible, cut into the heart, the soul, the memory. Noah's story isn't just about success. It's about survival. About choosing to rise when every voice in your life told you to stay down. It's about understanding that sometimes the greatest revenge is not becoming like the people who broke you. We don't all get apologies. We don't all get closure. But we can choose who we become after the damage. We can choose whether we stay chained to the past or build something powerful in spite of it. And healing? It doesn't always mean going back. Sometimes it means walking forward and never looking over your shoulder again. If this story moved you, hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Your support means the world to us. And it helps us bring more stories like this to life. Thank you for watching.